name is Stefan Roots, Mayor of the City of Chester, and today we are here because of a tragedy in the city. Last night around 7 p.m., we got a call that a 6-year-old slipped and fell into our creek during a time when the water was very high. The rainwaters from yesterday's tremendous rains come through Chester on its way to the Delaware River, and the creek was very rapid. We got to work right away with a lot of help from neighboring municipalities to do search and rescue. Because the event started at 7 p.m., there wasn't much time before dark to locate the little girl. I want to thank Wilmington, Aston, Leadham, Manoa, the Delaware County Emergency Services, and most importantly, the United States Coast Guard, who came to the rescue. This is an extremely sad day for the city of Chester. People woke up hearing this news, seeing this news as they go to church on this Palm Sunday. It's extremely sad. We have a tough community in terms of supporting each other. You're going to see a lot of mutual aid coming from the churches, coming from the neighborhoods, coming from the schools, coming from our playmates. More importantly, though, this community is one that will wrap its arms around those that are hurt and in need. The family who is just behind me here are still seeking answers as we continue to search for the little girl. It's really hard to say anything other than that we're praying, we're hoping, and we appreciate the prayers and support that I understand is coming from all over the country right now. It's very much appreciated. The Coast Guard, who does this type of work, we were very fortunate to have them work overnight, where our guys had to pull out the water at dark. They had their helicopter going up and down the river. They had a boat in the river. And that continued through this morning. And they will be here until about 5, working with us here in Chester. And that's way beyond what they would have normally done. As they explained to us, a young lady or a little girl of that size, with the temperature of the water, with the time, when they do all the calculus, chances of searching and rescuing is very short. And normally they would pack up and leave, but they've stayed. They've stayed overnight. They're working with us today because they understand that it's really important to bring closure here. It's really important that we find this little girl so that the city can feel better, so that the family can feel better, so that we can get that closure. It's really difficult for me to say anything else right now. This is a tough time for our city, but we stick together, we pray together. We're a city of maybe a few dozen families, and many of us are related, amongst ourselves. So all across this city, we're in mourning for this little girl. Me as the mayor, it's important that myself, my council, city employees, and those working with us create more play spaces for our children to play safely. Water's attractive to children. They were down on the banks of the water at the very wrong time. After all that rain, it was absolutely slippery. Could have just been a slip and fall. We don't know. We don't have those details. But in every case possible, we want to enhance our playgrounds across the city and make sure that they're safe and viable for our children to play and not have to seek out alternatives like on the banks of a creek right after a raging storm. I'd like to have my fire commissioner come up, John Paul Shirley, just to give a little more technical details that they put forth, followed by the U.S. Coast Guard. They're still here. Goodness, I think you absolutely need to hear from them. So let's start with Fire Commissioner Shirley.
Good afternoon, everyone. As Mayor said, about 7 o'clock last night, Delaware County 911 Emergency Services Center received a 911 call for a juvenile who had fallen into the creek. dispatched, and police arrived on scene within 2 minutes. Initially, there was a lot of conflicting reports as to the location and whether or not we had visual contact with the subject in the water. At that point, we requested the Delaware County Swiftwater Rescue Task Force, which brought in, as Mayor said, fire departments from surrounding municipalities that are trained and equipped to handle swiftwater rescue. Coast Guard was also contacted as well. We began a search both on the creek beds, swiftwater teams in the water, drones, the U.S. Coast Guard helicopter, and we had boats both in Chester Creek as well as Delaware River. About 10:30 last night, it was determined, just based on all the information we had, that search efforts, given the conditions with the temperature, the time of night, the darkness, that we were going to temporarily cease the search operations on the fire department side. However, Coast Guard worked throughout the night, continuing even up until this morning when we resumed. Crews were out. We started flying drones at about 7 o'clock this morning. About 8 o'clock this morning, we had boats out on the Delaware River, and about 9 o'clock, we had boats back in Chester Creek. The initial crews were out there till about 12 o'clock. We had additional teams on standby. They've since switched out, so we have fresh sets of crews, fresh eyes, again, going up the Chester Creek and checking on both sides of the creek bank from where the subject went in all the way down to the mouth of the Delaware. We still have boats out on the Delaware River, and they're checking New Jersey and the New Jersey and Pennsylvania side of the Delaware River. As Mayor alluded to, this is no longer a rescue effort, it's a recovery effort, and we're going to be continuing to search until it starts to get dark out again, and at that point we will be ceasing all search efforts. Any questions?
Search transition from search and rescue to search and recovery.
So we always had in the back of our mind, just based on the initial information, that it was going to be a recovery after 3 hours. That was basically the models that we were given. But that being said, we didn't want to give out hope because we were looking for that miracle. Unfortunately, just this morning we started to transition into more of a recovery mode, just because obviously we didn't see any signs of life. So we were always hopeful that we could find something, but now there's just without a doubt, once we had the sunlight on our side and we were able to do a much more thorough search, that it wasn't going to be a rescue. It was going to be a recovery.
This might be a question for the Coast Guard. How far down the Delaware River is that search?
I do know, I'll have the Coast Guard answer that. I do know we have searched basically from the Commodore Barry Bridge up to the mouth of the Chester Creek. And I'll also say this too, Wilmington did come up, Wilmington Fireboat 7 did come up and assist us. I want to say, I believe they started searching down by the refineries in Marcus Hook, and then they made their way up to the Commodore Barry Bridge, and that's where they met up with our boats last night. The most challenging part of the search is just the amount of area that we have to search. I mean, the Delaware River is very large. We've been up and down this creek. A lot of trees and debris are in the water, but just the overall area last night, when during some of our initial assessments, we timed it from the time that the young girl fell into the creek. She probably would have been at the mouth of the Delaware River within 9 minutes. So we don't even know with the time it for the 911 call to be placed and all that other stuff. If she wasn't hung up somewhere along the creek bank, she might have already been in the Delaware when we were just getting on scene. So the most challenging thing again was just the large area last night with the darkness and the swift moving water last night.
Estimate about how many people are searching for elimination?
Right now there's probably about 30 rescuers. We probably have about 15 to 20 people in boats right now. There's 5 boats out in the water. There's 6 including Coast Guard as well as a helicopter.
What does the rest of the day look like in the time?
We're just going to continue continue to just go over, again, from where she went in at to the mouth of the Delaware, and then just based on some projections of currents that the Coast Guard gave us, kind of some ideas along the shorelines of the Delaware River where we should be searching. But again, we're going to continue to go up and down. We have fresh sets of eyes on it now, so we're hoping that someone can maybe see something that someone didn't see earlier.
If you don't find out, at what point? Last night it was around 10:30 that you suspended.
Yeah, well, so last night she went at 7, and the survivability model was about 3 hours. That's why we stayed till about 10 o'clock. And again, we were still looking for that miracle this morning. But again, we're in recovery mode now, and we're just going to continue to search to hopefully, bring her home and give her family some peace. We're going to probably go until it starts to get dusk out, and then we'll be pulling our crews out just because it's not safe for them to operate at night. Again, last night, all bets were off. We're going to go in if she was in there. We're going to risk a lot together.
So has the Coast Guard not stopped searching since last night? I mean, I know you guys wanted to go. They've been out there this entire time.
They've been out there
overnight. Okay. So we're approaching. I mean, it's nearing 20 minutes now.
Okay. I'll turn it over to the Coast Guard real fast.
Can we just ask one more question? We
Yes.
know how hard this is on the family, obviously, but can you talk about how hard this is on the rescue workers and how difficult this is on all of you guys?
I think it's difficult on everyone. We all have families. We all have people that we love, and I think none of us really want to place ourselves in the family's shoes. So the best thing we can do for them is just support them, show them our love, and and our rescuers understand that, and that's why they're out there doing what they do.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, all. My name is Captain Rob Rivera. Last name Rivera, R-I-V-E-R-A. As the chief mentioned, ever since we got the call last night, it was all hands on deck, air and water assets, to support the city and the county emergency responders. And yes, there was no break in the search, although some of the elements were suspended at a certain time. We were provided that covered via Hilo and all assets. Actually, over this morning, which we have already an asset for to do the search currently. I know there was a question regarding the up to what area. We cover from the mouth, I would say close to a mile south on both ends, Pennsylvania and Jersey side of the house. But also I would like to give you visibility that we also release what we call the urgent marine information broadcast, and that's just a communications that we have out there in order to notify older vessels that are transiting, including the little ones and the big ones, to see if they see little Lujana somewhere. So definitely we have those hopes, but we're looking at reassessing the situation as we get input from the folks out on scene.
Why was it important for the Coast Guard to keep searching nonstop, even throughout the night?
It was important because as we are a community of search and rescue, we need to complement each other to see what gaps we have that we can cover, so that way we don't limit the fatigue factor on the crews that are out there try to search for little Yanja.
Do you guys have infrared as well?
I'm sorry?
Do you have infrared technology as well? I know there was talk
We
about
did.
last night.
What we used from the Hilo side of the house was night vision goggles and systems to find out if there's anything out there as we were looking outside the mouth and going south to the Delaware River. And I have to my right Commander Lee Gordon. He's the on-duty search and rescue mission coordinator. I'm the deputy sector commander for Coast Guard Sector Delaware Bay. First name, I go by Rob. It's Roberto, but R-O-B. Last name is Rivera, R-I-V-E-R-A.
Families believe that Tunisia
exist, so we're not going to deny that. The unfortunate part is there's a row of houses that lead up to the playground, and if you just go right out of the back door of those houses and go past the driveway, you're right at the banks as well, with no fencing at all. So we're not sure if the children left from the playground to get to the banks, or maybe they walked down the back alley. That gives them very, just no encumbered access to the banks of the creek. Tomorrow, we are going to go back with the crew from City Hall and look at that to see how we're going to protect that back alley from access to the creek. That small little gap that's mentioned in the playground is a real easy fix, but if that's the way they got through, then that is the case. But once they get past right at the banks to prevent, especially children from going down the hill. So that's what we're going to be looking at tomorrow.
Where that gap is in that fence, is that on city property or is that on a private property?
It's where city property meets up to private property. So the fence posts are right next to each other, and it appears whoever put the fences in just didn't close this gap, which is no more than a foot wide.
So where that actual, do you know for certain if it's on city property or, I know you said it's on the edge, but is it?
Well, the fence on one side is on private property. The fence on the park side is on our property. So it's a very simple fix to plug that hole with just a little bit of fencing. So it's a combination of properties. But the gap is between the private fence on the last house in that row where the playground starts.
What's my overlap or what can be done to prevent tragedies?
Well, unfortunately, tragedies expose situations that have to be addressed. And that's sadly unfortunate. Just like I said, the fact that we identified, because of what the family has told us, what neighbors have told us, there's a gap in the fence. I've been a part of city government for 2 years. The playground is only 2 years old. I had never personally heard any mention of that being an issue. Now that we know it's an issue only because of this tragedy, unfortunate, I'm telling you unequivocally, that little gap in the fence isn't as much the problem as there's free access to the creek bank, which is beyond the driveway, and the driveway stands between the bank and the playground itself. So that's what we need to protect, is the driveway portion that would keep anybody from having easy access down the hill, down the embankment to the creek.
Do you have a message to parents out there who are trying to keep their kids safe from the creeks?
Well, the only message I would have to parents is your children deserve safe places to play. I'm a parent, and I know if I have children, and I know they're outside in the neighborhood with their friends, for the most part, I believe they're going to be safe. We can't expect our parents to be holding our children's hands when they're going out to play, especially when they're of age where they want to play. So all I can say to parents is keep an eye on your children, know where your children are, make sure they're coming in before dark, especially if they're that young. But for the most part, let your children out to play. It's my job, it's our job as council, it's our job, as a city government, to create more spaces so kids can play safely. I'd like to invite up, if she would like, our state rep, Carol Kazim. She was out a lot last night, and I think it's important to hear from her, followed by our U.S. Congresswoman Mary Gay Scanlon. Thank you for joining. She doesn't look into comments, but thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Would you like to say anything? If you do, step up.
My name is Representative Carol Kazim. This is Councilwoman Tamika Gibson. Brought Councilwoman Gibson up here. She was out here late last night. I apologize. I look like this. It's pretty much just out, for the night. And it's just a tragedy. The feel comfortable with a 6-year-old out there not knowing. So, Councilman, do you have anything to add?
I think all the responders were coming out and staying here search for our friends with the family.
Any other questions? I want to thank all of you for coming out, covering this story. This is a cautionary tale for not just Chester, but all communities. Please, 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 when it comes to government, make sure our children have safe places to play. So the alternatives, like playing on creek's edge on a very dangerous night, the waters are high, the winds are high, and surfaces are slippery, doesn't even become an option. To the parents, please, 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 know where your children are playing. Have relationships with their friends. Know the families in the neighborhood. All that information helps us solve situations like this, but it creates safe play spaces for our children. I can't thank enough the U.S. Coast Guard, all those agencies that I mentioned earlier who provided support for us, our City Council who's standing behind us, our state rep, the emergency services from Delaware County, our magnificent fire department here in the city of Chester, our department, and all the friends, neighbors who have shown nothing but love since the news has come out. What you'll learn about Chester is we are a very tight-knit community. The mutual aid that is going to pour out in the next few days, toward the family as a result of this situation will be very heartwarming. I thank you guys again. Have a great day.